Hi. Thank you for sitting down with me. I'm interviewing you just to see your perception on the pandemic and how it's affected the way in which you communicate with other people. How has the pandemic been for you so far in terms of communication with others?
I have noticed that I'm more cautious and aware of how close people get to me. Um, Definitely, I, I as a nail tech, uh, I have to be face to face with people, and now I'm more aware of like how I communicate with them and how to make them comfortable without overstepping any boundaries. And if they wear a mask, I wear a mask. I don't know.
Okay, perfect.
It's tough.
If the pandemic had not happened,
Mm.
how would life be different for you?
Uh, I don't
Maybe talk about your nail schooling
know. Okay.
and you um, how you weren't able to.
True. So I went to school to become a nail tech right as the pandemic hit, uh, causing the school that I was originally supposed to attend, it had to close down. Um, I definitely could see that there was a difference in my education as a nail tech. The fact of cleanliness and sanitation was, it's already very important in my field of work, but it became even more so because of the pandemic. Also, normally in nail school, you are able to work on people and do their nails as you're in school. Due to the pandemic, I was not able to do so. The first time I was able to actually work on people was when I actually got my first nail job
Mm-hmm.
2 years later. School just took 2 times as long to complete due to how the pandemic affected um, the state board
Mm-hmm.
for me to get my license and overall just my schools.
Okay, perfect. Um, in a perfect world, how would you prefer physical interactions between you and other people to go? Like, would you prefer to just not touch anyone when it comes to like greetings or whatnot?
To me, because of my job, touch is very necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to almost analyze a situation when I sit down and have a client.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I feel like I am more aware of what boundaries I have in certain situations now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in public, I notice, I try to limit as much touch as possible. Um, when I'm with my family, it was weird at first. I was more cautious, but it seemed that over the past couple of years, I don't have that worry anymore. Um, and with my clients, of course, I have to touch them, but I always try to analyze what they're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Like if since I have to be face to face with them, if they're wearing a mask, even though I wear a mask,
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Yeah. Outside of work, how does the way you physically interact with others compare to how you interacted with them before the pandemic?
Okay, what?
Aside from work,
Mhm.
how does the way you physically interact with others
Mhm.
compare to how you interacted with people before the pandemic?
Mhm. I could definitely tell, like, being like physical, whether it's like hugging someone or shaking someone's hand, I'm more cautious to do so unless I really, really know them. If they're family or like close friends, even with close friends, I'm still a little hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
Family, I'll still hug like normal. But if someone reaches out their hand for a handshake, I almost feel like I pause to be like, should I? So I'm definitely more hesitant to, you know, have any sort of like close communication with like touch.
Do you prefer that change that because I'm assuming that people, you know, like I'm assuming you go for handshakes less and hugs less. Do you prefer the reduction in physical contact?
Um, yes, I'm not the most. I'm not a people person. Uh, I am very introverted, and so when it comes to communicating people out of like my comfort zone, whether it's like a stranger and they reach out their hand, I normally don't like to, give handshakes and all that. With the close family, yes, but I prefer less touch.
Perfect. With answer this question with the idea of it's with a stranger. List off what types of interactions, physical interactions, that you're still comfortable with the stranger, and that's comfortable. It's like completely comfortable, no hesitation, no issues.
I still like a decent amount of like space between me and another person. Like I don't like them getting so close to me. Like,
are there any interactions that you'd be comfortable with besides like I'm talking about handshake, hug?
Handshakes.
You're comfortable with it with a stranger? You're completely like no second thoughts about it.
If they reach out their hand to me, I will do it. It's not necessarily something that I would go out of my way to do to someone.
But are you comfortable with it?
I mean, relatively, yeah.
So when you shake their hand, there's no thoughts in your head of, oh, I need to go wash my hands. Oh, where has this person's hands been? Nothing like that. It's just...
I mean, I still, like, after the fact, I'll go, like, hand sanitize at least.
So that's uncomfortable. You're comfortable.
Relatively.
The fact that you're sanitizing your hands afterwards definitely means that you're uncomfortable with what is possibly on your hands.
Yeah.
So...
I guess nothing then.
Nothing? Do you think the answer would have been different before the pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you feel like it's harder for you to communicate with others because of the differences in physical contact due to the pandemic?
No.
You don't think it's more difficult?
No.
No, physically. Or not just physically, but just in general. For example, if you were talking to someone that you've never met before, right? If that person wasn't okay with any physical interaction at all, do you think your conversation would be different than if they were? So, for example, if there was someone who was shaking your hand, giving you hugs, patting you on the back, right? Do you think the tone and vibe of that conversation would be different than you standing 6 feet apart from another person and not having any physical interaction?
Both situations would probably make me feel uncomfortable, solely because I wouldn't want like a person to just come up, slap me on the back and all that. Because I feel like I have this certain kind of bubble.
Okay.
But standing 6 feet apart would also make me feel a certain way too. I guess mainly it's because the people I've been around haven't really. I don't know. I've never had like 6 feet.
A little impromptu question.
Yes.
When you're thinking about this, or when you're thinking about the physical interactions you have with others, are you more thinking about yourself and what you're comfortable with, or are you also thinking about what they're comfortable with?
Both.
Both? What do you think comes first?
Um, obviously, myself and what I'm comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
but then also when it's a work scenario, I
Mm-hmm.
think it changes to the reverse. I do whatever I feel the client would be more comfortable with.
Okay.
Um, so, yeah, I try to see what they're more comfortable with.
If you see a person in a store, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're having any form of interaction with a person,
Mm-hmm.
is them having a mask on a factor in how you interact with them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. Um, for sure. Someone having a mask on, I could clearly see that they have a reason to. Um, and I could determine that, they want to keep things distant. Um, again, it kind of pulls back to my work. If I see someone, I work on a lot of elderly people. And if they're wearing a mask, I could assume that they have some underlying health issue, and so respectively, I put on my mask.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add that you haven't told me already?
Nope.
Okay, and then finally, is there any advice you would give to someone on how one could communicate better physically?
I feel like even though, I think body gestures are huge. Even if you can't touch someone, if you make like welcoming gestures, also smiling says a lot. Even if you wear a mask, people could tell when you're smiling. For sure. It's not all about physical touch, I think. It's just about how you present yourself and move as well.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.